So welcome back to Easy Cooking with Tommy. This is what we're going to do this evening. I am going to cook a Southern themed dinner, but it's going to be easy, somewhat quick, but very basic. Anybody can do it. And so what we're going to have is we're going to have some collard greens. Yep, collard greens, but any kind of greens will do. Could even be kale, but any type of greens will do. But we're going to do collard greens. And we're going to have some sweet potatoes and catfish. I'm going to fry up some catfish. So I'll show you how I fry up catfish, show you how to do greens, and show you how a very quick and easy way to do sweet potatoes. And this meal will be cooking for two. Now the thing about cooking greens, a couple things, is that it always seems like, wow, that's a lot of greens. You can never have too many greens. And if you have leftover greens, so what? Eat them the next day. But you can never have too many greens. You'll be always surprised how little you have after they cook down. And then the other thing is, it's good to get your greens started about 2 hours ahead of time. You can never overdo your greens. I have never sat down at the table and had a bite of greens and say, oh, these were cooked too long. They're never cooked too long. Sometimes you can cook them not long enough and they're too tough. Like kale. Kale can be too tough. You got to cook them down. And so the way to do that, this is easy as can be, is that you get, first you put it in water. You put in, I put in 4 cups. You can't have too much water, because if there's too much water, you just pour it off when you're done. But I put in 4 cups of water. And then the other thing I did, and this is the magic ingredient. This is chicken bouillon. That's the magic ingredient. And I use this kind of tub of it, and you put a spoon in here, but I put in the equivalent of about 5 to 6 cubes of chicken bouillon into the pot. Now, if you're vegetarian, you could put in other types of bouillon. They make vegetable bouillon, but I use this chicken bouillon for everything. So that's the magic ingredient. And so I put in about 5 or 6 cubes worth. And then, I put the greens in. And I like to tear them up to about bite size. I don't think they need to be too big. And you never hear anybody say, oh, those greens were too small. Nope. It is good to do them about bite size. Takes a little while. And just so everybody knows, don't put the stems in there. Keep the stems out. So that is a stem, doing the greens. And then the other thing is, I put in, just for the heck of it, because it's in the fridge, I put in about half an onion. Chop it up, any size, but it doesn't have to be too finely chopped up. But I put in about half an onion. And then I get garlic. And I had garlic. You don't have to have garlic. But I cut the garlic just into slices like this. I didn't mince it. I didn't make them too small. Because cooking garlic in something like this, when it cooks down, it's a nice bite. They taste good, just like other things taste good. So I throw in some garlic. And for those of you that are not used to working with garlic, here's a clove that has not been peeled yet. What I like to do is I just kind of smash it, and then you are able to peel it. I peel it, and some fancy chefs, they like to use their knife to smash it. But once you do that, and you get the outer skin off of it, then what you do, or at least what I'm doing, I'm just kind of slicing it. I do a little slice, not big slices, just throw it in. And the last thing that I do, because my Scandinavian background, I'm not big on things being really hot. I don't like my foods being too hot. Like, to me, what might be hot to you is like my head's on fire to me. But that doesn't mean I'm afraid of heat. So I keep a bottle of Tabasco in the fridge, and I like to put a little bit of Tabasco, just a bit like that in my greens. And then I'll be covering them, and I'll come back in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so I started off on a high setting. I get it boiling, and then I put everything in there, and then I back it down to kind of a low boil. And I leave it on a low boil, and then I don't have to do anything else. I might stir them now and then, but I don't need to do much else. My greens will now take care of themselves, and I will focus on the rest of the meal. And what I'll show you in a moment is how to just quickly take 2 sweet potatoes. These are small sweet potatoes. Normally I would just use one big one, and prepare them in a nice way that is easy. We'll be putting those in the oven. And then I'm going to show you how to fry catfish. Now, I will talk to you a little bit more later when we get to frying the catfish about this catfish. I'm using blue catfish, which is an invasive species in the Potomac River and the Chesapeake. It's rated green by the Monterey Aquarium, saying you ought to eat this, and you should, well, it's healthy for you, but there's no problem eating the catfish. They're not scarce. We got too many. They're invasive. But these blue catfish, they're delicious, especially good fried. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that when we come back.
In the Chesapeake, they're not bottom feeders, are they, Chef?
Well, that's a good point. A lot of people don't like catfish because of what they eat. These catfish stay in the mid-range. They eat at all levels in the Chesapeake Bay. That's very good. Barbara, thank you. And so they're a healthy, good tasting fish. And again, you can't they can't be over harvested. They were introduced in the Chesapeake in the 70s to add another game fish, then they started taking over. And there's millions of these fish now, and we need to get them out. And so they're a great way to get protein, a great fish that we don't have to feel guilty about, and they are delicious. And I'll be showing you how I fry mine. Thank you. So next, we're going to do the sweet potato dish. Now, the thing about sweet potatoes we know is that they are very good for us. Any of the orange vegetables, they are good for us. And so what I did is I sliced the sweet potatoes about a ½ inch or less. ½ inch or less. And 1 sweet potato probably would have been enough because this is for 2 people. So the first thing I did is I sliced them up, and I put a pat of butter on each one. And then why don't you just take a little salt shaker, put a little salt on them. Just a little bit of salt. You know, salt and butter. You can't go wrong with salt and butter. So they're sliced up. I put a pat of butter on each one. And then next, I'm going to use maple syrup. Now, you can use any kind of syrup that you find in your cupboard. I happen to have maple syrup. And so I'm going to take some maple syrup, and I'm just going to kind of drizzle it over.
Whoa.
Drizzle it over the sweet potatoes.
It's a big drizzle, Chef.
Yeah, okay. They're
Where'd you get that
delicious.
syrup?
This syrup is from Minnesota. All right.
I noticed your accent changed.
And I put the oven at 350. And the thing about sweet potatoes, and I think any kind of potatoes, they're like greens. You can't overdo them. Unless they're just a crisp piece of carbon, you cannot overdo them. Isn't that true, Bella? And so I had an extra piece of sweet potato to give to the dog, and she loves sweet potatoes, uncooked. So put the oven at 350. I've got these sliced up, ready to go. I'm going to put them in the oven, and I'm going to leave them in for about an hour. So I've got the greens going, got the sweet potatoes going, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I fry catfish. Okay, so the greens have been on for 1 hour, and you know, they're pretty close to done. Greens are funny.
Let's see, Chef.
You don't fully need, like I said, 2 hours to be generous, but they're pretty darn close to being done. And you know, they could go another hour, or they could go another 10 minutes, but they're basically done. The sweet potatoes, oh gosh, they smell good. The thing about sweet potatoes is that as the starch cooks, especially in sweet potatoes, when they smell sweet, you know they're close to being done, and they smell sweet. So before I start frying the fish, first thing is, you don't have to do this, but I like to do this. I've got some pickle relish, a little bit of pickle relish in a jar, or in a bowl, and then put in 1, I guess 2.
Too much, Chef.
All right, that's good.
Oh,
And I make tartar sauce. Tartar sauce not required. You don't have to, but I like it just as an extra treat to put on our fried fish. So the fried fish, this is what's important. First thing is we're going to dredge it, and that's what it's called. It's called dredging. We're going to dredge it in the I got some all-purpose flour. I put just enough on a plate to where I'm gonna be able to dredge it. And then this is very important. This is cornmeal. I'm gonna put some cornmeal in this. That's 1 spoon and a half, and it creates texture. That's very important if you can do that. So mix it up a little bit. So I mix cornmeal into my flour just because it creates kind of a texture to the to it. Now the other thing is you got to dredge it. Also, you got to get it wet. And I just grab whatever I have in the refrigerator. And so what I saw is I had some buttermilk. It doesn't require buttermilk. Regular milk would be fine, but I had buttermilk, so I grabbed the buttermilk. Half and half would do. Whipping cream, any of those things. Then the next thing is, this is my other magic ingredient. I use Cajun's Choice, and basically it's just salt, white pepper, black pepper, red pepper, maybe a couple other things in there, but I use Cajun's Choice. With that, I gotta get I put in canola oil.
You're starting a fire, Chef.
I know. I put in canola oil. You got to be sure you got oil that can get hot. And canola oil can get hot. I'm cutting this catfish up. You know, they're not big pieces. It's better not, my opinion, to go smaller than bigger. So I've cut the catfish up. And then the other thing that I think is very important is that you season the catfish, not your dredgings, not the flour. You season the catfish. And that is really the trick. That is all I do right there. Season the catfish. And put about, I just get it on each one of them. That's where the seasoning is. Some people put their seasoning in the flour. I put it on the catfish. So what you do is you put the catfish in the liquid, get it wet, put it on the flour. Get it good and coated well.
Your accent's changing again.
Well, it's because it's catfish. All right, and now I'm going to put it in the skillet. Now that's a cast iron skillet. I think this is about a 14-inch skillet. Everybody needs a cast iron skillet. That's just a requirement for cooking anything halfway southern or anything else. I believe in my skillet. One of my favorite items in this home.
I think you wasted some buttermilk, Chef.
I think there's always going to be waste. I'll give it to the dog, Barbara. Bella loves buttermilk. I always go for excess rather than under.
That's why you never have it for your biscuits.
Oh, my biscuits. They are good, aren't they? So, we're getting this fried up.
You want the oil to be as hot as possible? It's super hot.
It's super hot, but it could be hotter. But I've decided that this is what I want it at.
Whoa.
I could back it down a little bit.
My eyes are burning.
But I like it hot.
Ooh.
It's not on the highest, and it's not on the lowest.
Getting a little smoky, Chef.
Well, that means we're doing good. All right. So,
Whoa.
that's going. And the first one, and it starts, I put it in there. You see how long you've been. It's about 3 or 4 minutes. Now I'm going to flip them. Now that's a little bit, I like it blackened like that. That's a little bit more than I generally like. But it's working well. And again, this blue catfish, you can't mess it up. It is delicious.
I think blackened normally refers to the
So
seasoning rather than the burnt crust.
So I've cut it down.
Maybe turn it off.
It is, I turned it off. It is just about ready. Oh, this looks good. So I put paper towel down for it. It is just about ready. Oh, it's cooked quick. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm crying, Chef.
Ooh, this is good. Simple, quick, and easy. That is just about done. Bella's excited. All right, first one out. That looks good. There we go. Second one out. That's the big one. All right. Third one out. That looks golden and good. All right. This is delish. Next one out.
I think I've seen you cook okra this way.
Oh yeah, that will be another time. So okay. So this is done. We've got that ready. That is off. Greens are done. So the first thing I'm going to plate is I'm going to plate the greens. I think that's what they call it, to plate. And I didn't know that that was a verb, but apparently it is.
You've been drinking, Chef.
I'm going to plate this. Ooh, those greens look great. All right, and the next greens. Oh, those look good. Okay. Greens are done. Get this mayonnaise out of the way. And next, we'll put some catfish on. This one here. This one here. This one here. Plenty for seconds. I'll move this.
M-I-K.
My family's called more in the kitchen. So, then next, I will pull out, let's clear this off, and I'll pull out the sweet potatoes. Oh, those are really looking nice. They're not crispy. They're, everything looks good on them. Let's put some of these up on the plates.
The bottoms look good.
These are good at every level. And they're good for you. All right. Sweet potatoes are done. And what you have here within about an hour and 15 minutes, very easily done. You have a southern meal. You've got fried catfish. It's delicious, promise. You got collard greens, sweet potatoes. It's a healthy, could be a little healthier, but it is a healthy meal. And it was easy to do with just whatever I had in the kitchen. So enjoy. Easy cooking with Tommy.